Tonight on First at 9 this Wednesday the 13th of November 2024. On your marks. All set for the 2024 parliamentary election to commence. Unparalleled coverage. Derana prepared to bring you the latest updates on the general election using state-of-the-art technology and graphics. Vote of confidence. US Embassy rescinds travel advisory for Arugam Bay. Foreign Ministry assures visitors safety ahead of tourist season. Soaring high. Sri Lanka poised to rank among the fastest growing tourist destinations next year. WTM Global Travel predicts a 109% increase in inbound tourist spending.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawama Kiren Perata. ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
කන්ට පරිස්සම් කරගත්තොත් අපි පරිස්සම්.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Sri Lanka's premier primetime English news bulletin, Derana First at 9. I'm Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and from around the world. Now, with then less than 12 hours to elect the 10th Parliament of Sri Lanka, all preparations for the 2024 parliamentary election are already in place. The election regulatory body requested all eligible voters, including private sector employees and the advanced level students who have completed the age of 18 years to exercise their right of franchise tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, the People's Action for Free and Fair Elections noted that several foreign election observers are already deployed to monitor the 2024 general election.
Sri Lanka Decides 2024.
The 2024 general election, held to elect the 10th Parliament of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, is set to take place at 7 a.m. tomorrow. A total of 8,888 candidates are contesting this year's election, while 17,140,354 Sri Lankans are eligible to cast ballots. Polling for the parliamentary election will be conducted at 13,421 polling centres across the island from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. tomorrow. According to the 2024 voter list, the highest number of voters, amounting to 1,881,129 voters, have been registered from the Gampaha district. Meanwhile, 1,765,351 voters have been registered in the Colombo district, while another 1,417,226 voters have been registered in the Kurunegala district. Ballot boxes and all stationery related to the 2024 parliamentary polls were transported to polling stations this morning under police security. Royal College Colombo and DSA Nanaika College will be the two main polling centres within the Colombo district. Similarly, the preparations ahead of the parliamentary election were also carried out in all other districts island-wide. The Election Commission requested employees of the private sector and the banking industry to be granted leave, enabling them to exercise their right of franchise during the soon-to-be-held parliamentary polls.
We
request the private sector and the banking industry to grant leave to all employees, enabling them to exercise their right of franchise during the parliamentary polls. We have already informed employers to consider the distance between an employee's place of work and their polling station when granting leave to that employee. Additionally, all advanced level students who are eligible to vote this year should be allowed to cast their votes. Therefore, all private tutors take due measures considering that fact. Around 331,000 youths in this country over the age of 18 are eligible voters. All private tutors are requested to conduct their classes in a manner that permits eligible voters attending those classes to vote. They have a right to vote. Give them that opportunity.
Meanwhile, a special election operation office was set up today at the police headquarters by the police in collaboration with the armed forces and the civil defence force to ensure a free and fair election. Additionally, the People's Action for Free and Fair Elections noted that several foreign election observers have already been deployed to monitor this year's general election. The Election Commission informs that voters who did not receive an official polling card will still be able to vote as long as they present a valid form of identification, which include valid passports, driver's licenses, ID cards issued to clergy, government pensioners' ID cards, senior citizens' ID cards and temporary ID cards issued by the Election Commission via Gramaniladaris. At the polling station, voters can cast their vote for any political party or an independent group by marking an X within the box in front of their preferred political party or group. Voters can also express their preference for up to 3 candidates nominated by a certain party or group by placing an X within the space containing the number assigned to each candidate on the ballot paper. The Election Commission notes that voters can opt to vote for a party or independent group exclusively without casting their votes for particular candidates of the same party or independent group.
Horizon Campus 2024 Intake 2. Register now. පිරිපුන් ජීවිතයකට ඔබ සමගින් පෙරට Union Assurance.
Welcome to Cinnamon Life, South Asia's biggest entertainment hub, where awe awaits.
චන්දුරුසුනේ කාගෙන් මනාපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Sadaharita Plantations Limited, celebrating 22 years of your trust.
Just as we brought you the most successful election broadcast during the 2024 presidential poll, Other Derana is all geared up to bring you the latest updates on the 2024 parliamentary election tomorrow using state-of-the-art technology and graphics. The latest election results of the 2024 general election will be brought to you through our special election coverage, Sri Lanka Decides, live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
The 2024 parliamentary polls are set to commence tomorrow at 7 a.m. to elect 225 members to Sri Lanka's 10th parliament. Other Derana is geared up to keep you posted on the 2024 general election through the Sri Lanka Decides special election coverage. Derana Aruna will kick off the coverage at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow. The Sri Lanka Decides special election coverage will then be broadcast on TV Derana and Other Derana 24 from 8 a.m. onwards. With production teams and correspondents stationed in each district, we are prepared to bring you the latest updates of the parliamentary polls throughout the day. Studio 24 in Colombo, the largest news studio in South Asia, is equipped with cutting-edge technology to deliver the latest updates to you with live graphics. Our live election coverage can be viewed on Other Derana 24 channel number 14, available on both Dialogue and Pure TV. Moreover, election results will also be publicized through FM Derana, the www.otherderana.lk website, as well as through the Other Derana text alerts. In addition, the latest election results and updates will also be posted on our YouTube, Facebook and X social media accounts.
Sri Lanka Decides 2024.
The US Embassy in Sri Lanka today rescinded the travel advisory issued to US citizens to avoid the Arugambe area in light of a potential terror attack against Israeli nationals in the region. This follows a request by the Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry for the US Embassy to lift the relevant travel advisory. Meanwhile, the Foreign Ministry today assured that Sri Lanka is a peaceful and friendly destination for tourists ahead of the upcoming tourist season. Following the receipt of intelligence information regarding a terror attack against Israeli nationals in the Arugambe area, Sri Lankan security forces increased the security in the region. Against this backdrop, on the 23rd of October, the US Embassy in Sri Lanka issued a travel advisory for US citizens in Sri Lanka, urging them not to travel to Arugambe until further notice. Several other foreign missions in Sri Lanka, including the Russian Embassy and the British, Australian and New Zealand High Commissions, followed suit, issuing similar advisories to their citizens. However, today the US Embassy rescinded its travel restriction for Arugambe. This follows a request by the Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry yesterday for the US Embassy to lift the security advisory issued urging US citizens to avoid the Arugambe area. Meanwhile, the Foreign Ministry in a statement today assured that Sri Lanka is a peaceful, beautiful and friendly destination for tourists ahead of the upcoming tourist season.
Fast track your career from O-levels with eSoft.
After O-levels, start your Australian degree in just 8 months with ACBT's Foundation Program. Enroll now before it's too late. Call 071 115 1234 for Colombo or 077 011 3223 for Kandy.
ඩයිබටසෝල් සීනිවලින් පරිස්සම්වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
ප්‍රයිම් ගෲප් ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට හඳුන්වා දෙන ලෑන්ඩ් ලීසින් ලේසියෙන් මීටමක්.
Single 1111 up to 60% off from the 11th November to the 17th of November.
Setting the backdrop to further Sri Lanka's economic gains in the aftermath of its grueling economic crisis, the WTM Global Travel Report for the year 2024 primes Sri Lanka to rank among the world's fastest growing travel destinations in 2025. The report projects Sri Lanka's inbound tourism spending to grow by 109%, trailing only behind Thailand, which is forecast to grow its tourism spending by 147%.
According to the 2024 WTM Global Travel Report, published in partnership with Tourism Economics, Sri Lanka is expected to rank among the world's fastest growing travel destinations in 2025, with tourism spending forecast to increase by 40%. The report positions Sri Lanka as Asia's leading destination for tourism spending growth next year, followed by Laos at 30% and Cambodia at 29%. The report outlines that slower travel recovery of China is weighing on regional outlook in Asia. This disproportionately impacts the nearby countries like Thailand and Vietnam, which are particularly reliant on Chinese travelers. While recovery to 2019 levels remains behind, overall tourism spending growth is expected in each of the 20-odd territories in 2025 compared to 2024. By 2030, Sri Lanka's inbound tourism spending is projected to grow by 109%, with the country set to remain the second fastest growing tourism destination in Asia, trailing only Thailand, which is expected to see a 147% increase. Globally, the number of international overnight arrivals per year is projected to grow from 1.5 billion this year to exceed 2 billion before the end of the decade. The report also indicates that developed markets will continue to dominate as the largest sources of outbound travel, though emerging markets are expected to gain importance. China, the United States, Germany, the United Kingdom, France, India, Russia, Canada, South Korea and Australia have been identified as the top outbound growth markets for the 2019 to 2030 period. According to the report, a challenging economic environment is shaping a more cost-conscious consumer. A recent survey by Tourism Economics indicates that over 80% of tourism experts believe price sensitivity will increasingly influence travel spending in 2025. However, consumers continue to prioritize travel despite a trend towards value seeking. The Tourism Economics Travel Trends Survey revealed that 3/4 of respondents are still prioritizing travel but are opting for more cost-effective options. According to findings of the survey, travelers are also increasingly drawn to new destinations and experiences. The average length of stay for international travel remains elevated, with some shorter trips being sacrificed in favor of longer stays to explore destinations more fully as part of a slow travel trend. The overwhelming majority of Travel Trends Survey respondents expressed a growing interest in meeting locals or learning about local culture.
In view of the 2024 parliamentary election, the Custom Officers Union temporarily withdrew its work to rule trade union action. The union action launched by customs officers followed concerns raised by the Container Transport Owners Association over arbitrary actions by customs officials, which have led to serious delays in container clearance. Last week, Minister of Ports and Civil Aviation Vijitha Herath engaged in an inspection tour at the Colombo Port's customs premises to examine the delays in cargo clearance. During his tour, container transport drivers and the members of the Container Transport Owners Association raised concerns over arbitrary actions of customs officials. However, denying all such accusations against customs officials, the Customs Officers Union called in a press briefing yesterday where a work-to-rule action was publicly announced.
We strongly deny all allegations made against us. Customs officers intervened to reduce the heavy congestion which took place as a result of delays in cargo clearance. They even intervened to reduce the congestion near the Colombo port premises. However, from now on, we have decided to fulfill only the tasks assigned to us.
This led to heavy traffic congestions on roads around the Colombo port area last evening as container trucks remained stranded on both sides of the road. With more container trucks joining the queue, the situation worsened this morning. However, the Customs Officers Union announced this afternoon that it has temporarily withdrawn from trade union action in view of the general election tomorrow.
Since we hold the responsibility of securing our employees' right of franchise, we have instructed relevant officers to expedite cargo clearance at the port premises. Accordingly, measures are in place to transport the container trucks to the container yards. However, we will continue our trade union action from next Monday onwards.
Accordingly, the clearance of containers commenced this afternoon pursuant to a directive issued by the Director General of Customs in that regard, which particularly called for a systematic cargo clearance process. The Sri Lanka Customs informed that all activities related to the cargo clearance process will be restored by tonight. Subsequently, the container trucks were also later transported to the container yard to ease the traffic congestion. Welcome back. The Colombo Bourse closed in green today as the all share price index surpassed the 13,000 mark for the first time since January 2022. The ASPI climbed 1.05% to settle at 13,125.19 points. The S&P SL20 meanwhile climbed 1.31% to close at 3,938.25 points. The market turnover crossed 6.9 billion rupees, with the banking sector as the top contributor. John Keel's Holdings was also included amongst the top turnover contributors. Foreign participation in the market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net sellers. And up next, we have Minal Vikramage from Capital Alliance with some thoughts on the current status of the economy in our next segment, Economic Outlook.
Liquidity in the markets showed improvement, with the total outstanding market liquidity registering a surplus of 123.37 billion LKR by November 8. During the week's T-bill auction, there was an oversubscription rate of about 1.7 times. In the secondary market, the volume of transactions in treasury bills and treasury bonds increased by 16.7% compared to the week before. Turning to external earnings, tourism continued its steady growth, with earnings amounting to 185.6 million USD in October 2024. Similarly, worker remittances increased to 587.7 million USD in October 2024. Lastly, Sri Lanka's gross official reserves were provisionally estimated at 6,467 million USD as of the end of October 2024.
And with that, here's a look at corporate news in brief. The Colombo Stock Exchange renewed its partnership as the platinum partner of CFA Society Sri Lanka for the 8th consecutive year, fortifying shared commitment to promoting ethical standards, education and professional excellence within the Sri Lankan investment industry. Commenting on the renewed partnership, the Group Chief Financial Officer of the CFA Society, Aruna Pereira, expressed his appreciation for CSC's continued support, emphasizing its impact on the shared goals of both organizations. The CSC stated that this renewed partnership is expected to continue building pathways for growth, knowledge exchange and professional advancement within the finance and investment industry in Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, Union Bank announced its financial performance for the 9 months ending 30th September 2024, showcasing growth amidst a challenging market environment. The bank demonstrated a 22% increase in loans and advances to customers, reaching 75.7 billion rupees. Deposits grew by a solid 9%. Profit before tax for the 9 months was recorded at 358 million rupees, while profit after tax stood at 117 million rupees. DFCC Bank announced its support for Sri Lanka's growing demand for electric vehicles through a new partnership between DFCC Leasing and John Keel CG Auto, the authorized agents for BYD passenger vehicles in Sri Lanka. This collaboration paves the way for customers looking for affordable yet environmentally friendly vehicles to purchase an electric vehicle via DFCC Leasing. DFCC Bank added that the new partnership also addresses the evolving needs of its customers while supporting the country's move towards a greener future. The Archbishop of Canterbury, the top cleric of the Anglican Church, has resigned after an investigation found that he failed to pursue an investigation into allegations of serial physical and sexual abuse by a volunteer associated with the Church of England at Christian summer camps. Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury, resigned yesterday, 5 days after the independent Making report singled him out for criticism over his handling of abuse allegations dating back to the 1970s.
Archbishop of Canterbury Justin Welby, the spiritual leader of Anglicans worldwide, resigned in sorrow yesterday, saying he had failed to ensure a proper investigations into allegations of abuse by a volunteer at Christian summer camps decades ago. Welby, also the most senior cleric of the Church of England, had faced calls to resign after a report last week found he had taken insufficient action to stop one of the Church's most prolific serial abusers. Church commentators and historians said it was the first time an Anglican archbishop had resigned over an abuse scandal. In his resignation letter, Welby said he must take personal and institutional responsibility for a lack of action on the heinous abusers. Welby's tenure covered a decade of major upheaval in which he was forced to navigate splits over homosexual rights and women clerics between liberal churches, mostly in North America and Britain, and their conservative counterparts, especially in Africa. The Anglican churches in African countries such as Uganda and Nigeria are likely to welcome his resignation after saying last year they no longer had confidence in him. His successor's main challenges will include holding together the increasingly fractious worldwide Anglican community and attempting to reverse a decline in church attendance, which is down a fifth in Britain since 2019.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining and have a good night.